Hi, I'm Rowena, and my mother excluded me from our family's Hawaii vacation. I wasn't sick, I wasn't busy, I just wasn't invited. Worse, they used my name to get a group discount and then told people I was too unwell to travel. When I changed the locks on the home my grandmother left me, they called me selfish. But what do you call a family that only remembers you when they need something? And if the house was mine, why did it never feel like I belonged there? Stay with me, because this isn't just about a vacation. It's about years of being erased, one quiet betrayal at a time. Dinner at my mother's house was always a quiet affair. Not peaceful, just quiet in that awkward, tiptoeing on eggshells kind of way. I showed up with a bottle of red wine and a key lime pie from the bakery down the block. Mom barely looked up when I walked in. Her voice trailed from the kitchen, casual but distant. "You're early. Plates are already set." I placed the wine on the counter and offered a polite smile. The kitchen smelled like roasted chicken and rosemary, but there was something else in the air, something colder. I took off my coat and walked to the dining room, glancing briefly at the side table, where mail and papers usually piled up. My eyes caught on a printed itinerary with a photo of palm trees and hotel logos. The bold letters said, "Hawaii Family Escape, Finalized Guest List." I leaned in. Dad, Mom, Seraphine, Mark. No Rowena. I didn't say anything. As we sat down, the silence between bites of food was louder than the clinking of silverware. Seraphine, my sister, chatted about some influencer deal. Mom nodded, smiling at all the right beats. No one noticed I wasn't speaking. After dinner, while rinsing plates, I casually asked, "So, is the trip all set?" Mom nodded. "Flights are booked, hotel confirmed. It's going to be nice for everyone to unplug a bit." Everyone. I hesitated. Wasn't I part of that plan too? She paused for a beat, then shrugged. "We weren't sure if you'd be available. You're always so tied up with work. Seraphine said she asked you months ago, but you seemed hesitant." Hesitant? That was never true. I had agreed right away. Back in February, Mom had called one afternoon while I was between meetings. "Sweetie, we're putting together something special for the family," she said. "A real getaway. Could you help cover part of the deposit up front? Just until we get everything sorted?" No hesitation. I wired $2,500 the next morning. I cut corners all month to make that happen. Canceled 2 subscriptions, switched to bulk groceries, put off my dental checkup, and not once did I doubt my place on that plane. Now, hearing her dance around it, like I'd imagined the entire thing, my stomach twisted. Seraphine walked in from the hallway, drying her hands with one of the monogrammed towels I gave Mom last Christmas. "Mom said you'd be cool with sitting this one out," she chirped. "We just thought it'd be easier logistically." "Easier," I echoed, nodding slowly. The next hour blurred. I helped clean. I smiled where expected. I hugged them goodbye. But inside, I was unraveling. Driving home, I kept revisiting the conversation. Had I missed something? Was I being too sensitive? Maybe it was my fault. I didn't confirm. But no, I remembered clearly. I even sent Seraphine my passport details for the bookings. I looked up swimwear. I had a packing list. That night, after a long shower and 2 glasses of wine, I opened my laptop, hoping, just hoping, that maybe there was an email I'd missed. Some forwarded confirmation with my name tucked somewhere. Nothing. Then the notification popped up in the family thread. Final itinerary confirmed. Hawaii group. Attached was a PDF. I clicked it open. Dad. Confirmed Mom. Confirmed Seraphine. Confirmed Mark. Confirmed no Rowena. Not even CC'd. I didn't bring it up again. Not after that night. But silence in my family was never absence. It was currency. How things were agreed upon without ever being spoken out loud. It was a Tuesday morning, 2 weeks after I saw that itinerary. I was microwaving leftover stir-fry in the office break room when my coworker Jamie leaned in, phone in hand. "Hey, isn't this your sister? Her posts are wild." I glanced over. Seraphine was mid-boomerang, clinking glasses in front of a digital poster. Ohana escape. Group rate confirmation. Jamie swiped through. Did you guys really get that Hawaii package with the full 20% family discount? That's a steal. I need your travel agent. I stared at the screen. There it was. My full legal name, printed as part of the minimum qualifying party for the discount. I blinked. Yeah, I mumbled. Big trip. Still figuring things out. My lunch went cold in the microwave. That night, I called Mom. She picked up on the third ring, voice overly cheerful. Hi, honey. How's work? I cut in gently. Did you use my name on the resort booking form? Silence. Then a soft chuckle. Oh, that. It's just a technical thing. They needed a certain number of names to lock the group rate. But you told them I wasn't coming. Well, yes. But you did help with the deposit, right? I mean, it's all family. That word again. Family. Like it was a get-out-of-jail-free card for whatever they needed to justify. And what happens if there's a problem? If something gets charged to my name? Oh, Rowena, stop making this a thing. It's just paperwork. Don't overthink it. I hung up before I said something I couldn't take back. The next morning, I scrolled through my messages while sipping coffee. A text popped up from Mrs. Halverson, our neighbor from 2 doors down. We hadn't spoken since Christmas. Hope you're recovering okay. Your mom said you were too sick to travel. How are you feeling now? My mug clattered onto the counter. Recovering? I checked again. Too sick to travel? Vera hadn't just omitted me. She'd rewritten me. A fiction to explain my absence in their narrative. Not a sister left behind. Not a daughter who'd been erased. But a woman too weak, too fragile to even join. I didn't respond to Mrs. Halverson. What would I say? The truth? That I paid for a trip I wasn't invited to? That my name was used like a discount code, then discarded like spam mail? Instead, I let the silence continue, because that's what we did. That night, I sat on my porch, wrapped in a blanket. The wind rustled the leaves, and the moon lit the corner of the old wicker chair where Grandma used to sit. If she'd still been alive, this wouldn't have happened. She wouldn't have let them forget me so easily. I opened the family group chat, scrolled past old memes and Seraphine's overfiltered selfies. My finger hovered over the thread. Then, without hesitation, I hit Leave Conversation. It didn't make a sound. No alert. Just a quiet disappearance, as if I'd never been part of it to begin with. I stayed up late that night, drafted an email titled Boundaries. I outlined every feeling, every breach of trust. I wrote about my contribution, my exclusion, the lie, the erasure. I sat with it, rereading. Then I deleted every word. Because I finally understood. I wasn't writing to them. I was writing to myself. I never sent the email, but in my mind, I had already shut the door. I came home late on a Thursday after 3 days out of town. My shoes tracked in the damp of an unexpected spring drizzle, and my briefcase felt heavier than it should have. I unlocked the front door, stepped into the hallway, and paused. Something wasn't right. It was the mail. A pile of envelopes lay scattered near the console table, not stacked the way I'd left them. The scent in the house had changed too. No longer just lavender from the diffuser, but something more artificial, sweeter, cloying. Vanilla spice, maybe. Not mine. The deadbolt hadn't been set. I walked into the kitchen. The light above the sink was still on. A half-empty bottle of rosé stood next to the faucet. A lipstick-smudged wine glass rested in the drying rack beside a chipped white mug that didn't belong to me. Seraphine's mug. It had a pink handle and a glittery decal that read, "But first, brunch." My stomach dropped. I made a slow lap around the downstairs. Living room, bathroom, laundry closet. No one there. But subtle signs marked their trail. Throw pillows fluffed wrong. One of Grandma's old quilts folded differently. A charger plugged into the wall that I didn't own. I walked upstairs, cautious now. My bedroom door was ajar. Inside, Everything looked intact. No one had touched my dresser. But in the guest room, the bed had clearly been used. Wrinkled sheets. A faint perfume in the air I hadn't worn in years. There was even a stray earring on the side table. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor for a long time. Then I reached for my phone. "Hey!" I texted Seraphine. "Were you at my house?" She replied 20 minutes later, no punctuation. "Yeah, Mom said it was fine you weren't home." Not even a question. Not a sliver of hesitation. Just a declaration. The casual arrogance of it made my chest tighten. I didn't text back. I went downstairs and poured myself a glass of water. It tasted flat. My hand trembled slightly as I gripped the counter, replaying it all in my mind. This house, the only thing Grandma had left to me, was being used like a community lodge. Without warning. Without permission. I walked into the living room and stopped. A photo frame had been swapped out. The old picture of me and Grandma on the porch swing, gone. In its place, Seraphine and Mark at some vineyard, holding hands, laughing at nothing. I didn't cry. Not this time. Instead, I sat on the couch, letting the quiet settle over me like dust. It reminded me of the day we read Grandma's will. The attorney's voice, clear and unemotional, saying, "To my granddaughter Rowena, I leave the house in Portland and all its contents." She had looked me in the eye before the meeting. "Don't let them treat this as community property," she'd said. "You were the one who stayed, who saw me through." But I hadn't enforced it. I let them come and go, let Mom use the address for mail, let Seraphine host a brunch once because I was out of town anyway. One boundary ignored had led to this. My house quietly becoming everyone's backup plan. That night, I didn't sleep much. I lay in bed, watching headlights flicker across the ceiling. Around 3 a.m., I got up, went to the junk drawer, and pulled out the spare key Mom had duplicated years ago. I took it outside and dropped it in the trash bin by the curb. Then I got in my car, drove to the hardware store that opened early, and bought a new deadbolt. One with a keypad. By 8 a.m., it was installed. I didn't post about it. I didn't tell a soul. But something had shifted, deep and irreversible. That house wasn't just shelter anymore. It was a line, and I had just drawn it. I didn't tell anyone, but something had just shifted, and I wasn't going back. Saturday started like most do when you've trained yourself not to expect anything. Slow, muted, harmless. That was until I reached for my phone. The screen was lit up with notifications, DMs, mostly from friends or people I hadn't spoken to in months. One message stood out. "Thought you'd moved. Is Seraphine living there now?" My stomach flipped. I clicked the link attached. It opened to Seraphine's Instagram story. A sweeping pan across my kitchen. The green tile backsplash. The vintage tea kettle Grandma left me. The herb garden I had coaxed back to life. Then her voice, bubbly. "Weekend at my second home." The caption? "Cozied up where the heart is. Portland life. Grateful vibes." I stared at the screen so long my coffee went cold. Beneath the video were comments from her loyal crowd. "Your place is adorable. Is this in Portland? Looks like a dream." She replied to one, "Yes, it's the house Grandma left to the family." To the family. I didn't exist in that version. What hit me wasn't the lie. It was how normal it seemed for her to tell it. She'd rewired the truth so seamlessly that no one would question it. The world believed her, because she said it with a smile. I stood up too fast. My knee knocked the chair leg. I left the dishes in the sink and drove to Mom's house. When she opened the door, she barely blinked. "Rowena, you look tired. Are you sleeping?" I walked in without asking. "Did you see Seraphine's story?" Mom hesitated. I may have glanced at it. "She's telling people the house is hers, that Grandma left it to the family." Mom closed the door slowly, not meeting my eyes. "I mean, isn't it, though, in a sense?" "No," I snapped. "It's not. It's mine." Grandma made that clear. "She didn't mean only you, honey. She just wanted you to have a place, that's all. But families share. That's what we do. I stared at her, heart thudding. Do families also use each other's names for travel discounts? Tell neighbors their daughters are too sick to attend trips they paid for? Post their homes like props? She bristled. Why are you being so obsessed with titles and space? It's just a house, Rowena. You're making this ugly. I took a breath that scraped against my ribs. It's not just a house when it's the only place I've ever felt seen. Honestly, she said sharply, if Grandma saw how you're acting now, she'd be ashamed. I didn't respond. I walked past her, back into the driveway, and got in my car. That afternoon, I sat at my dining table, the light through the blinds casting slow-moving stripes across the floor. I opened my laptop and pulled up the state legal forms, property rights, digital notary services. I wasn't doing this to win. I was doing it so they'd finally have to see a line and know not to cross it. But before I signed anything, I picked up my phone one last time and sent a single text to Mom. You come through that door again without permission, and there will be consequences. The reply came an hour later. We're family. You don't threaten family. You just forgive them. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just that quiet guilt dagger they'd always wielded so well. That night, I deleted every social media account tied to my name. Instagram, Facebook, even the Pinterest board I'd been building since college. Then I clicked Save on the legal document draft. Not for revenge, for clarity. Clarity can feel cruel when you've been trained to be convenient. The notary's office smelled like old ink and quiet decisions. I sat across from a woman in her 60s who wore a cardigan with pearls at the collar and spoke in clipped, kind sentences. I handed over the deed, my ID, and the documents I had downloaded and printed the night before. This will make it official, she said, stamping the last page. No one can claim ambiguity after this. I didn't smile. I just nodded. Good. Outside, the sky hung heavy with overcast clouds. I stopped by the hardware store on the way home, not the one closest to the house, but one across town where no one knew me. I paid in cash for a keypad lock with a high security rating, installed it myself before noon. No one knew. No announcement. No pointed speech in the family group chat. I wasn't doing this to hurt anyone. I was doing it to stop being hurt. 2 days passed in a tense kind of peace. I worked, watered the herbs, folded laundry. I almost allowed myself to feel a sense of relief, until Thursday. A loud bang on the front door broke the quiet. Then again. And again. Through the peephole. Mom! I didn't open it. Her voice cut through the door. Rowena, are you home? The lock isn't working. What happened to the key? I stayed silent. She knocked again, sharper. This is ridiculous! Let me in! I sat in the hallway behind the door, knees drawn to my chest, arms wrapped around them. I could hear the disbelief in her tone turning to fury. You think this is how you repay me, after everything I've done for you? The silence that followed was longer. She didn't knock again, just stood there. Then footsteps. Then nothing. That evening, she left a voicemail. Her voice, lower now, calculated. You lived in her house, rent-free for years, Rowena. That was your repayment. Don't pretend this was charity. You owe. I listened twice, then deleted it. Later that night, I sat in Grandma's chair, my legs folded under me, wrapped in the same quilt she'd stitched before her arthritis got too bad. The same chair I sat in during those months of hospice, holding her hand between spoon feedings and sponge baths, calling doctors and pharmacy techs, sleeping in shifts on the floor. Mom hadn't been there much. I took care of you not because I owed you, I whispered to the empty room, but because you loved me right. It came out steady, no crack in my voice, no tears, just truth. I opened my laptop and clicked through the document again, checked each line for errors, property listing, transfer of ownership, notification clauses. Then, finally, the last button. Submit. The little spinning wheel ticked forward. That click echoed louder than any knock on the door. I stood outside the city registrar's office longer than necessary. The document in my hand felt heavier than its few printed pages should allow. My name, clear and centered. Legal designation, sole property owner, no co-claimants, no family ambiguity, just me. Inside, the clerk stamped it, nodded without much fanfare, and passed it back with a quiet, "Congratulations." I didn't feel proud. I felt done. That afternoon, I walked back through my front door, set the papers on the kitchen counter, and poured myself a glass of water. The silence that followed didn't feel peaceful. It rang with the kind of finality that only comes after a long wait. I didn't message anyone. I didn't post online. I didn't even tell Lisa, my coworker, who had asked about the whole ordeal weeks earlier. This wasn't a declaration. It was a decision. Hours later, I opened Facebook out of habit. I hadn't scrolled in days. The algorithm greeted me with photos of sunsets, dogs in Halloween costumes, and then, there it was. Vera, smiling between Seraphine and Mark, arms wrapped around each other, drinks in hand. The caption underneath, "Real family always opens their doors." Seraphine had reposted it with the comment, "Hawaii, here we come. Grateful for the ones who show up." No tags, no mention. I wasn't even a ghost in their narrative anymore. I opened my friends list. Gone. Mom, Seraphine, Mark, even second cousins I hadn't spoken to in a year. I wasn't unfriended. I was erased. No texts, no calls. Nothing but the digital echo of omission. That evening, I found a voicemail from Uncle Richard. He never calls unless someone's in the hospital. "Rowena!" His voice crackled. "Your mom's not taking this well. Don't make things worse than they are. She's hurting. You don't have to cut everyone off over a house." I didn't reply. No one asked how I was doing, not once. The next morning, I got the email from my attorney. The notice had been delivered. Signed for by someone at Mom's address. The message was clear. Access revoked. All informal permissions rescinded. Legal boundaries now enforced. By evening, my phone buzzed again. No contact name, just a local number I didn't recognize. It was a photo. Grainy, taken in low light. My front door, locked, sealed, quiet. The kind of shot someone takes from the driver's seat of a car parked too long. Below it, one sentence. "We'll talk when we're back." No name, no punctuation. I stared at it for a while, then turned my phone face down and returned to the sink, where I'd been rinsing rice for dinner. The water ran a little too long, but I didn't mind. They didn't knock, not anymore. Now they pushed. I was upstairs folding towels when I heard the engines. 2 black SUVs pulled up, just like I knew they would. One parked across the driveway. The other stopped in front of the mailbox, engine running. I didn't move from the window. The doors opened, one by one. First Seraphine, dragging a designer suitcase that looked too clean for island sand. Then Mom, in a wide-brimmed hat and flowy tunic. Mark followed, sunglasses still on though the sky was gray. They stood in front of the house for a beat too long. Then, as if on cue, Seraphine stepped forward and tried the door. It didn't open. She jiggled the handle harder, knocked once, then again, louder. "Rowena!" she shouted. Mom joined her. I could hear her even through the glass. "Rowena, open the door!" I didn't move. Mark called my phone, twice. On the third try, I turned the ringer off. Then I sat back on the bed and stared at the ceiling while they knocked, shouted, banged. For all the noise outside, the inside of the house was still. I walked downstairs, put on the kettle, and turned on the stereo. Jazz. Grandma's old records. The kind that filled the space without pressing too hard. As the kettle whistled, I imagined them out there checking their phones, whispering to each other, growing confused. 3 hours later, the knocking had stopped. I booked a same-day moving service, paid extra for rush handling. Then I opened every drawer, closet, and bathroom cabinet. Every item that didn't belong to me got boxed. A silk robe left on the bathroom hook. A pair of slippers. 8 bottles of overpriced shampoo. A drawer full of organic teas no one asked to store here. The mover showed up just before sunset. I handed over the boxes, each one labeled by name, each one sealed. Signature required. No note, no explanation. The next morning, Seraphine posted a reel. A slow zoom on a wine glass and some sad piano music underneath. Caption: Some people forget who raised them. Mom followed a few hours later with a picture of Grandma Agnes in black and white. Her in her garden, apron tied, smile faint. Caption: She'd be heartbroken. I stared at the screen for a while before opening the comment box. My hands didn't shake. I typed, "She left the house to me for a reason," and hit send. The silence that followed was louder than anything they'd screamed through the door. And there was one more thing Grandma left behind. No one else knew. It took me less than 30 seconds to upload the document. Just one image, the notarized section of Grandma Agnes's will. My name, her signature, legal clarity, black and white. I didn't write a caption, no explanation, no hashtags. I posted it to the community thread, where a handful of distant relatives still lingered, enough to make sure it landed where it needed to. The reaction was quiet at first. Then subtle waves started hitting the inbox. A cousin from Boise I hadn't heard from in years sent a private message. "I had no idea. I'm sorry." Another wrote, "Honestly, it never made sense how they treated you." No public defense from Mom. No statement from Seraphine. But within hours, several of Seraphine's old posts vanished. Stories that once boasted of brunches, family home vibes, and her newfound peaceful escape. Her digital trail thinned like smoke. I didn't gloat. I wasn't trying to. I was just done pretending. That afternoon, I took the photo out of the drawer. The one of Grandma and me at the lake. We were sitting side by side in a rowboat, tangled in fishing line, both laughing so hard our shoulders touched. The kind of laugh that doesn't come from jokes, but from knowing you're completely safe with someone. I found a frame that had been gathering dust in the hall closet and placed the picture above the mantel, where Seraphine once set their wedding photo. The boat scene fit better. Then I took a new photo of the old photo in its new home. And for the first time in weeks, I posted something to my private lockdown account. Caption: Some doors stay locked for a reason. No drama, no explanation. But by morning, it had over 200 shares. Someone screenshotted it and posted it in a neighborhood Facebook group. Another user linked the will from the community thread. A quiet kind of wildfire. That evening, my phone rang. Mom. I let it buzz 4 times, then picked up. There was no hello, just breath. Then, "You've made your point." Click. No apology, no ownership, just the same tactic they always used. Shut down, imply guilt, avoid the core. I deleted the voicemail before the app could even finish saving it. Later that night, I climbed up into the attic to look for a blanket. Spring had cracked into one of those cold, unpredictable Portland snaps. While sorting through a storage bin, I found a small wooden box tucked in behind a broken lamp and a stack of outdated cookbooks. Written in Grandma's unmistakable script on top, "For when I'm gone." I stood there for a long time just holding it, my thumb brushing the edges of the lid. I didn't open it right away. There wasn't fear in my chest, just a strange quiet, like the house had stopped breathing with me. I didn't know what it said yet, but I knew it was mine, and mine alone, to open. The box was smaller than I expected, wooden, with soft edges worn smooth by time. I carried it downstairs and placed it on the coffee table, next to a mug of chamomile tea I hadn't touched. The house was quiet, save for the ticking of the old kitchen clock. I opened the lid. Inside was a folded letter, yellowing slightly around the edges. The handwriting on the envelope was unmistakable. Grandma Agnes, in her deliberate, looping script. Rowena, for when it matters most. I unfolded the letter and read. She wrote about legacy, not money, not property, but memory. She wrote about watching me grow up under shadows not of my making, about how she'd seen the way I shrank myself to make space for others. She apologized for not saying it aloud when she was alive. You were never the backup. You were always the root. I read the letter again. Then, out loud, this time, as if saying the words could make them real. When I finished, I folded it carefully and sat for a long time, the paper still warm from my hands. The next morning, I walked through the house slowly. My fingers grazed the top of the upright piano no one played anymore. I paused at the bookshelf where Grandma's recipe cards sat tucked between dog-eared novels. I found the lavender bundle she dried herself, still faintly fragrant, still tied with a blue ribbon. Some wounds never fully close, but that doesn't mean they keep bleeding. Some just become part of you. Quiet, familiar, survivable. A new email arrived that afternoon. From Vera. A subject line that simply read, "Family." It was long. Too long. Defensive, then vaguely warm, then back to cold. She didn't say sorry. She never did. But she did write, "I just wish you remembered everything I did for you. Family means sacrifice." I didn't respond. Instead, I printed the email, folded it once, and placed it inside the wooden box, right beside Grandma's letter. Not to preserve, but to release. Two truths. One that saw me, one that never did. Later that week, I made a call to a local contractor. I'd been meaning to do it for a while, but something always stopped me. Not anymore. "I want to turn the guest room into a home studio," I said. "Yes, full renovation. Yes, I'm the owner." When they came to assess the space, I walked through the house with them, pointing out what I wanted changed, not what anyone else would have liked. We picked out paint swatches, talked flooring, window treatments. For once, I wasn't preserving. I was becoming. Weeks later, the room stood new, clean, filled with light. It didn't resemble Grandma's guest space anymore, and somehow, that didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like evolution. On the wall above my desk, I framed one last photo. Me and Grandma in the rowboat, laughing at nothing, tangled in fishing line and sunshine. I captioned it in pen. "Still here, still quiet, still mine." I didn't post it. I didn't forward it to anyone. It didn't need to go viral. It just needed to live where it mattered. No applause came, no phone calls, no flowers at the door. Just peace. There won't be another chapter, not because nothing's left to say, but because I've finally said enough. Some chapters don't end with applause. They end with silence. And sometimes that's exactly what healing sounds like. If there's one thing this journey taught me, it's that boundaries are not walls to shut people out. They're doors you choose who to let in. And for far too long, I waited for my family to knock, when really, I needed to close the door to protect what was mine. You can love your family and still say no. You can honor where you come from without giving up who you are. And sometimes, reclaiming your space means learning to disappoint the people who built their comfort on your silence. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to draw a line, not out of anger, but out of necessity? Has someone ever made you feel invisible in your own story? Tell me in the comments. Type 1 if this story spoke to something deep inside you, or just let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to connect. And if this video moved you, challenged you, or simply made you feel seen, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We've got more stories coming, raw, honest, and rooted in the kind of truth we don't say out loud nearly enough. Your story matters too. Let's keep telling them, together.